China is calling on the U.S. to honor its commitment to a renewed bilateral relationship during the two sessions. Beijing wants to build on the diplomatic breakthrough between Presidents Xi Jinping and Joe Biden when they met in California last year. But as Owen Fairclough reports, everything could change following the U.S. presidential election.
Chinese President Xi Jinping with his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden in California last November, resetting relations that had deteriorated amid trade battles. The world's two biggest economies are drawing a line under years of counterproductive commercial friction that poisoned diplomatic relations. And Monday's opening of the annual Chinese National People's Congress is a moment to take stock of the improved climate, according to its spokesman.
China's consistent position is to follow the three principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation as proposed by President Xi Jinping, and strive for a stable, healthy, and sustainable relationship with the United States.
Both sides are cementing this renewed relationship with bilateral visits. A delegation from the U.S. Treasury, the latest to visit their Beijing counterparts last month. And just days before that, another bilateral meeting in Beijing.
I announced the official launch of the China-U.S. Counter-Narcotics Working Group.
China's Minister of Public Security Wang Xiaohong and U.S. Deputy Homeland Security Advisor Jen Daskal launching an alliance to counter synthetic drugs such as fentanyl. But many tariffs that embodied trade battles launched under the Trump administration remain in place. Some exclusions on products like face masks and medical products intended to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 have been extended until the end of May. But as the November presidential election approaches, presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump is threatening to increase tariffs should he win the White House. Owen Fairclough, CGTN, Washington.
And for more on the state of U.S.-China relations, I sat down and spoke earlier to Wade Lai, president of the San Francisco Chinese Chamber of Commerce. He began by talking about what the meeting at APEC between President Xi and President Biden in November last year means for businesses.
I think that now, with, especially with this meeting between our two countries, with the two presidents, I think that it kind of eases everybody's mind, and there's a lot of hope and excitement moving forward.
So it paves the way, as you say, for more potential opportunities. But what could some of the challenges be this year that could stall cooperation between U.S. and Chinese businesses?
Well, I think that, first of all, I think people are still getting to warm up a little bit. I think that it takes a little bit of time. I think that obviously the direct flights that are still slowly coming into play with China and U.S. I mean, I think that in April there's more flights coming to San Francisco as well, San Francisco to China. I think this will definitely help in the fact that the people are able to communicate more directly in person and visit, whether there's factories or having sit-down meetings and so on and so forth.
And for a broader perspective on China's relationship with the U.S. and what we can expect moving forward, let's bring back Otaviano Canuto and Yukon Huang. Gentlemen, let me start with you, Yukon. What do China's 2024 policy goals in the report mean for its relationship with the U.S., which has undergone a thaw after President Xi and President Biden met on the sidelines at APEC? Xi said before that meeting, planet Earth is big enough for the two countries to succeed.
I think that the basic message is that the two sides need to get along better. And that was the understanding reached in San Francisco between President Xi and President Biden. So you're seeing a step up in terms of commercial air traffic, visa requirements, educational exchanges. But there's some major outstanding issues. The punitive tariffs, which were launched several years ago under President Trump's so-called trade war with China, they have not been substantially lowered in any way. Restrictions on high-tech exports to China are still in place, and there's a possibility that they may actually be tightened. So there are these kinds of concerns which are still there. They're very difficult to address in an election year. As you noted, President Trump talks about increasing these tariffs in the future, makes it more difficult for President Biden to act upon these things. So I think the best thing that both sides can do is try to keep the emotions under containment and strive to find ways to collaborate even further. But it's going to be very carefully managed, I think, over the coming year.
And Otaviano, let me ask you, with so much global geopolitical tensions, the world was watching to see what the report revealed about defense spending. The draft budget included 1.6 trillion yuan, that's about $230 billion, a 7.2% increase. Clearly a focus on security there. What should we read into that?
Well, this is an issue, as we all know, not simply taking place in China, but this race towards increased spending on military equipment is a manifestation of the geopolitical tensions overall, the wars and all the disputes that have at stake. Let me make one single point here, too. First, all major challenges faced by mankind as of this moment in history will need collaboration among multilateral collaboration, rather than an environment of rivalry and of dispute. And second, one way or another, the global economy, the global trade has managed to adapt itself to the new circumstances. It's impressive how part of the flow of trade from China to the U.S. has morphed into other shapes of the global value chains and so on. Now, even Mexico has passed China as the major source of U.S. imports. But that has to do with the adaptation of global value chains to evade those the restrictions, the existing restrictions. But it's something costly. This means that products become more expensive than otherwise, and so the more one sees a movement towards cooperation rather than rivalry, the better for all of us in mankind.
Yukon, China's vice president has urged businesses from the world's two largest economies to boost cooperation and safeguard the global supply chains to preserve the economic system and world order. Where are the current key areas of cooperation that you can see between the two countries?
Well, I think both sides can work harder in terms of resolving this issue of punitive tariffs and many restrictions, which just been noted. They're increasing costs. Inflation is a major concern in the United States. And part of the reason is that the products coming into the U.S. are much more expensive than they were a couple of years ago. But from my side, I think I worry more about knowledge transfer. Everyone in the world has made a lot of progress because knowledge is transferred easily, absorbed, innovation is promoted, new product lines come aboard, and freely available in a global system. We're running into a problem these days because of protectionism. We're running into a problem because of restrictions on the exchange of knowledge. I think these areas are being overwhelmed by security concerns. So I think one of the key points in the future is a much more serious discussion among the great powers. How do you deal with these security concerns? Are there ways to mitigate them? Can we allay people's fears? Because right now, what we're doing, we're imposing costs on everyone.
It will be interesting to see how much the relationship improves over the course of the year. Otaviano Canuto and Yukon Huang, thank you again so much.